Hello, this is David Dindi from Devles Ventures, and allow me to share with you findings of the operations of ESLS or Village Savings and Loans Groups. Some people call them table banking groups, some people call them silk, depending on which organization actually trained the group or groups in a particular area. Yeah, some of the positives that I was able to observe when I visited groups across December and January 2023 uh, is that groups continued to mobilize uh, savings and social fund in the midst of the hard economic times, and they were still able to borrow from those funds and were able to meet their immediate needs as regards to credit facilities with those particular groups. Leadership are still driving the groups to success, and I observe that there's strong leadership in groups that I actually visited. Members are still self-selecting and coming from the same locality, and they know each other in terms of character, in terms of where they come from, in terms of borrowing history, and in terms of ability to repay. Uh, what I also observed is that the profit from the cumulative savings are shared by the members as per the share capital. They are actually sharing out in regard to how much you actually saved. What is the new share value times how many shares did you purchase across the year? The meetings are still being held frequently. Majority doing weekly meetings, a few doing bi-weekly. I never came across any group that is meeting on a monthly basis. Excess funds in majority of the groups are saved in the group accounts in the various banks around the area. I went ahead and looked at the challenges which I was able to observe during my visit. Is that the number of members not paying loans or are in default are quite high. Yeah. And when I interacted with them and actually asked why they were not repaying the loans, something that came up, or the issues that came up are over borrowing or over financing. Members of the groups are borrowing based on savings and not borrowing based on ability or the need that they actually have. There's also the part of the character. Some members are just difficult to deal with, and they are actually not paying as required. Sickness of a member or dependent, a close dependent, also came up. There's also cases of business failure. A number of businesses failed during the year, and this occasioned failure of actually meeting the loan obligations. Diversion of funds. A number of groups actually reported that some members who borrowed the money never spent them on the intended purpose. As a result, they were not able to pay because some money which were meant for the business were diverted into other areas. Yeah. Loss of members, loss of family members and relatives. Yeah. Uh, also came up. There's fatigue of funeral contributions. So each member, group members were saying that this really needs a solution. A lot of money is still on the table during share out. I was in a share out of one group which shared out a total of 1.7 million Kenya shillings, and all these were in cash in a remote village. And they really risked losing this money when if somebody attacked them, because as share out comes with excitement, and the group members were spreading all over that they are going to have a share out. So if somebody knows that such a money is in the village, they can easily lose the money. The next thing that I observed was lack of savings goals by the group and the members. why are they in the group? Why are they making the savings? A number of members were actually saving in order to borrow. It's missing the point of the VSLA. Even the government is focusing everyone into a savings culture. Yeah, so this is something that I was able to identify. Uh, in terms of default, connected to the defaults that are explained earlier, so a number of members are not able to actually have documentations of the loans that have been taken by the group members. So it is very difficult to attach a group member to uh, a loan. So that documentation is missing. Uh, and in a few cases, we had incidences of loss of records. So opportunities which I identified and even discussed with the VSLS that I visited was that one was uh, modification of the VSLS for especially for the larger loans that members should be able to guarantee with their shares. For instance, if I'm taking 100,000, then that loan should be fully secured, so that in any eventuality that we lose the money, uh, the group doesn't suffer, but the members take the liability. This was occasioned by the virtue that these members don't want to vet the members who are actually applying for the loans because they come from the same families and same environment. So they feel like people are just giving, members are approving loans without actually considering the ability to repay that money. Asset financing and purposeful funding was also a recommendation that we had to prevent diversion of funds. Here I mean that if somebody wants to pay school fees or wants to purchase an asset, then he or she is given the check or the supply is directly paid, and then they just go to pick the product. Um, uh, some of the groups were practicing interest on the unborrowed funds, so that at the end of the year, the money that has remained is actually uh, the money that is unborrowed also earns interest, so that doesn't affect their return on investment at the end of the cycle. Insurances was also a solution that we see as an opportunity, so that members can be encouraged to have NHIF covers and also get a way of getting last expense insurance in case a group loses a member or a close relative of a member. This can be resolved through last expense insurance. Value-added products were very critical in our discussions in terms of how can we reduce our expenditure on household consumption. So here we looked at how can we be able to have clean air cooking, clean lighting, uh, so that we reduce the expenditure on consumption. So this will ensure that the savings made from the expenses can be able to pay the loans and also ensure that the savings are also done. Uh, Joint projects, IIGS, we observe that there is attachment to a group and group objectives when a group is doing something which is jointly owned by the members. So the members were feeling like, why can't we have joint initiatives so that members can have attachment? Not that at the end of every cycle, somebody just walks out and goes away. Lastly, we were looking at security of funds at shareout, and we are looking at how can we have a cashless transaction in a VSLA. This is a project that was funded by, was piloted by CARE. I think 2013 to 2014 to 2017, and we expected the financial institutions to pick this up to ensure that they sort out the issue of security of funds. So the recommendation here was that how can we have partnerships with the VSLS to have them open accounts, save this money in the bank. At the point of sharing out, they don't need to go and withdraw the money and carry the cash to the group. they should be able to do cashless transaction by through mobile transactions. And the very next steps here is to engage with the banks to ensure that they activate the products that had been designed so that the groups are able to have security of their funds, even at shareout. Those were the findings, and I will wish to take questions in the channel. Thank you for listening.